What's up guys, it's Markee, and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Arsehole, where on our first story today, OP's asking if they're an arsehole for scheduling a doctor's appointment without telling their mum, and then on top of that, expecting their mum to pay for it, which, yeah, that's a lot to take in. It's a bit more complicated than that, so I hope you enjoy the story. Let's go. Am I the arsehole for scheduling a doctor's appointment without telling my mum, and then expecting her to pay for it? When I was 12, I'm 17 now, I got my first period, and it lasted about 2 weeks. I told my mum about it, and she told me that it was normal for the first 2 years to have weird and irregular periods. My doctor told me the same thing a few months later in my yearly physical exam. Okay, fine, I'll just deal with screwed up periods for a couple of years. No big deal. 2 years pass, at age 14, my periods still aren't normal. They last 3 to 4 weeks on average, but only show up about 2, maybe 3 times a year. I tell my mum that I've surpassed 2 years, and my periods still aren't normal. I need to see a doctor. She tells me that her periods were the same way up until she started having kids, and that it's nothing to worry about. But if I really want to see a doctor, she'll schedule an appointment. I told her to schedule one, and she didn't. A few months later, at my yearly physical, I tell my doctor, and he recommends me to a specialist, gives my mum the number, and tells her to schedule an appointment. My mum agrees, but never follows through with it. I remind her every couple of weeks to schedule an appointment, and she always says she will, but never does. Here we are, 3 years later, still reminding her, and she never schedules anything. My periods are still weeks long and months apart. She lost the number to the specialist. Every time I ask her to schedule something, she always tells me that her periods were the same way, and it's nothing to worry about, but she'll schedule one soon, and she never does. So a couple days ago, I called a specialist that I found online that is nearby, and I scheduled an appointment. I told my mum about it, and she is absolutely livid, demanding that I have to pay for this appointment myself since I didn't tell her about it before I scheduled it. It's not a money issue. She simply thinks that because she dealt with similar issues growing up, mine are not significant. She is the same way with every other health issue I've ever had, even ones she never experienced. It took me nearly 2 years to get her to allow me a therapist. I told her I suspected a UTI months ago. I donated blood recently, and received a letter saying that my ferritin levels were concerningly low, and I should see my healthcare provider. None of this is enough for my mum to schedule an appointment with anybody. Am I the arsehole for taking things into my own hands? Edit to answer some questions. My dad will not do anything to defy my mum. I've tried getting him to help me out in situations with her, and he will not engage. As for the insurance question, I'm calling the office tomorrow morning to ask, since they are closed for the weekend. Thank you all for the support. And yeah, little update on that. Hey y'all. For those of you wondering, I had to cancel the appointment because my family's health insurance didn't cover that office. I've asked my mum one last time to get me an appointment with an obgyn, since obviously making my own didn't work out. And if she doesn't soon, I'll contact the Planned Parenthood in my area. Thank you all so much for the advice and support. I seriously appreciate it. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I might be the arsehole because I scheduled an appointment for myself without telling my mum, and expected her to pay for it since she's agreed to schedule me one for years, but never did. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. First of all, I'm livid she didn't bring you to a doctor right away. It's usually a good idea to get yearly checkups to see everything is fine. I'm guessing you haven't even had a full blood work done in all this time. And second, no, it's not normal for your periods to be this long ever. Yes, some people have irregular periods, but long periods like the one you describe can cause anemia, and can be a sign of hormonal imbalance, PCOS, or something else. You made the right decision by going to the doctor, and since you're a minor, I'm guessing she kinda has to pay. I hope it's nothing serious and you can get some answers soon. Not the arsehole. It is entirely appropriate for you to see a gynecologist around your age, even if you have no problems, if only to be able to establish a relationship with one and to be able to have a confidential discussion with an expert about the medical aspects of sex, birth control, etc. The fact you are having problems, and have for years, makes it not only appropriate but essential. Some problems, if left untreated, can affect your long-term health and fertility, as well as your comfort. Do tell the doctor what your mother said. It is important for the doctor to know that your guardian is an obstacle to care when she should be helping you. It is also important for the doctor to know that your mother suffered from similar problems that were left undiagnosed and untreated, as some conditions can run in the families. It is entirely appropriate for your parents to pay for your medical care at your age. However, if that means that your mother will think that it gives her the right to be present during your appointment, I would suggest that you find a way to having the option of paying on your own if it gives you leverage to keep her out. You don't need to be in the situation where you're telling the doctor one thing and your mother is telling your doctor there is no problem. Make her pay if at all possible, but also make plans to keep her away from your doctor. You are likely to have follow-up tests from this appointment, since you were having problems, blood work, maybe an X-ray, CAT scan or MRI, possibly things like a biopsy down the road. You will need to think ahead to be able to both get to and pay for these tests in order to get the care you need. Your mother had no intention of scheduling that appointment. She just kept putting you off, hoping you would forget about it or give up. This is your body. It's the only thing that you will have with you for your entire life. Do what you need to do to address your questions and concerns, not the arsehole. And now on to the update. I gave my mum one last chance to schedule me an appointment with a gynecologist. That way she'd be able to find a doctor that worked with our insurance and that she knew how to get to, like many other commenters suggested on my last post. I guess it just took an intense wake-up call for her to finally get me the help I needed, because I had my first appointment in July. It was on the way to that appointment when my mum told me that she had PCOS, but didn't tell me because she didn't think it was of concern to me. I know that I mentioned PCOS in my previous post, and many people in the comments also suggested the possibility of the diagnosis and shared their experiences with it. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome, meaning the brain sends signals to the eggs in the ovaries that trigger them to grow and mature into cysts several at a time rather than one at a time, which would be what happens in a healthy system. After explaining to my doctor what my symptoms were and mentioning my mum's PCOS, she told me I had a high chance of having PCOS and a possible chance of endometriosis. She scheduled a follow-up appointment to have an ultrasound to see if I had ovarian cysts, or essentially the cause of PCOS. During that appointment, it was confirmed that I do have several cysts, multiple of which were very large. My ovaries are about 4 centimeters wide, and one of the cysts in my right ovary took up a quarter of that space. My left ovary showed the signature ring of pearls, meaning the cysts all grew along the edge of my ovary to give the illusion of pearls. Essentially, the doctor suggested putting me on Carriver birth control as the best option for me for preserving my ovaries. My mum didn't like the idea of me getting a get-out-of-jail-free card, but my dad convinced her to agree since it was the best option. Like many commenters suggested, I talked to my dad more about the medical neglect my mum has put me through since I was young, and he was better about advocating for my health with my mum. Thanks for the help and advice, everyone. Edit. The get-out-of-jail-free card that my mum was talking about was referring to the fact that my medication can be used as birth control, because she doesn't trust that I'm not going to go out and sleep with half the town now that I'm on birth control. She didn't mean it as a form of, you don't deserve treatment, it was more, you deserve to get pregnant if you ever have sex kind of way, as if that would be the only thing stopping me. Maybe it's both. I'm not really sure. Imagine raising your daughter all those years and then being really angry that she got a get-out-of-jail-free card and that now it's okay for her to have sex and she won't have babies? Like, genuinely, what is the logic here? She's pissed off that her daughter will be able to have safe sex? Why are these people having kids if they hate them like this? I actually hate people like this so much. Anyway, in the comments, I'm sorry, but your mum is negligent to a shocking degree. I'm glad that you were finally under medical care. And really stupid. How can you have a disease and hear your own daughter complain about the symptoms without realizing that she has the same disease? Truth is that mum knew, but either didn't care or made it about herself, and due to some reason opted not to do a thing. From the line about OP's mum being upset that the prescription birth control would be a get-out-of-jail-free card, I'm leaning the latter. OP's mum sounds bitter that her daughter was able to find a solution/treatment to their common problem and would have preferred her daughter to suffer just like she did. I'm glad that you finally got the diagnosis and treatment you needed. However, your mum's behavior was even more appalling than I initially thought it was. She knew of her condition, yet never told you about it or connected the dots on you having it. Crazy to me. I'm glad OP got help, but her mum's behavior really made me see red. She sounds like a movie villain. Her mother sounds ridiculous. Of course your medical history is of importance in regards to your biological children. And what's with the wanting to refuse the treatment, birth control, because it's a get-out-of-jail-free card? What the hell? I put all 3 of my daughters on birth control in high school. They were always told just to ask if they wanted to have birth control, and when they did ask, I took them in for a prescription. Teenagers have sex. I prefer that mine have safe, educated, protected sex. Our next post is titled, Am I the arsehole for kicking my sister and her triplets out of my house when they are in need? So my sister D, 25 female, and her triplets, age 3, had to move into my, female 33, house this week as they needed repairs to theirs after a leaky pipe rendered it uninhabitable for a few weeks. Within less than 24 hours, my main bedroom's hard surfaces have been covered in crayon. My TV has been covered in jam. My partner and I are staying in our small spare room/office to give them the larger bed, and generally my house is in ruins. I don't really care about any of that, but provided for background of the amount of disruption caused. There are 3 children potty training, with little success, and 3 adults currently in my small house, which combined with my medical condition, means my bathroom is almost perpetually in demand. I have incontinence issues, which my sister knows about and how I deal with them. I specifically asked that while they stay, that she made sure that I had access to the sole bathroom at set times. 4 20-minute blocks a day, so I can do what I need to do on a minimal schedule. Which is not really ideal for me, but the bare basics I can cope with short term. And to make sure that bath time, etc. doesn't overlap these times, in order to help me as much as possible. If I'm off schedule, the system doesn't work. Today, while bathing her kids at a time that I had reserved, Dee decided to use my condition, which I don't reveal without need, even to family, as a negative example to her children about why they should try harder to use the toilet, and told me I'd have to wait until they were done. After the kids were in bed, I asked her to make arrangements to find somewhere else to stay while her house is repaired, and that she has until Sunday afternoon to leave. I know she doesn't really have anywhere else to go, but I am so angry with her. I feel I've bent over backwards to accommodate the 4 of them, and the one thing I asked, she couldn't do for me. And to make matters worse, she was using my condition to scare the kids into action, which I find extremely uncomfortable, as they now know their aunt wears nappies, and I'm now exposed to the horror of kids having no filter and not knowing what they might say in any situation from now on. The whole situation has made me feel horrible, and now I'm living on my bed wondering, am I the arsehole for asking her to leave? Edit. A lot of people are commenting regarding the mess. I want to be clear that it will all be pretty easy to wipe, scrub, and mop, and clean. I really don't care about having to do all that, even if I have to paint a wall that was drawn on a lot. It's just 3 kids being overexcited at staying at their aunt's. It is not a big deal. Edit 2, yes, Dee did help with the cleaning and does try to keep them all well behaved. And edit 3, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of replies. Thank you all so much. The kids do have plastic potties, but won't use them outside of a bathroom. If anyone was using the toilet, the disruption to my schedule would be a few minutes, and I could probably be okay with that. The 20 minutes is more akin to a window than a block. The fact that my sister started to bathe them shortly before my reserved time is an issue. One I do blame her for, and the comment she made was very derogatory to me and has left me with horribly embarrassing nicknames with the kids. Auntie Potty Pants or Auntie Poopy Pants. Now in the comments, not the arsehole. Your sister and her children have taken advantage of your hospitality and have overstayed their welcome. If I was a guest in someone's home, I wouldn't let my children destroy it, and I'd accommodate the owner's requests. She can go to a hotel. If she has homeowners or renters insurance, she may get assistance with the cost of staying in the hotel. Sometimes things just don't work out. And OP replies, I don't care about the mess. The only bit that got me was her not doing the one thing I asked for, and what she said to them was the straw that broke me. I don't blame you. Your request was medically necessary and more than reasonable. Not only was it disrespectful, but it was humiliating of her to belittle you in such a way. For that alone, she doesn't deserve your hospitality. You can probably play it off as the kids talking about pads, if they do bring it up in front of others. Honestly, if a kid told me Auntie wears nappies, I'd think that they meant pads, or maybe saggy granny panties. But she is still the asshole. And OP replies, I would do that, but unfortunately they're more likely to call me Auntie Potty Pants, which is much harder to play off. I am lying in bed right now trying to figure out how I can get them to forget about that, but at 3, they are like sponges and remember everything you don't want them to. Time to teach them all the curse words you know. All of them. Not the asshole. You must have the patience of a saint if having 3 toddlers destroying your house doesn't set you off. Your sister did not follow critical house rules, out she goes. And OP replies, it's just mess and they are cute, but it's the one thing I asked of her. It's a medical necessity, completely unreasonable for her to violate that agreement, and saying what she did to her kids was beyond unacceptable. And now on to the update. Firstly, my thanks to everyone who commented when I made my first post. I was feeling really rough about the whole thing and was questioning everything. Your replies helped me sort out my own thoughts at a time when I needed some impartial voices, and the cleaning advice offered really helped, so thanks. Now the update. My sister and her kids moved into a holiday home on Monday. It was the fastest it could be arranged, so I ended up letting them stay an additional 24 hours. The insurance is paying for it, and it's about a half hour away from here, so local to where we live. She's able to stay there for 2 weeks, in which time her own house will hopefully have had its repairs completed. So far she's managed to keep crayon off the walls, but there have been some close calls, so I hear. My sister did offer me what I believe to be a sincere apology for her actions and words. I can accept that she didn't mean to cause me difficulties by giving the kids a bath at that time, and I have, after consideration, forgiven her for that part, even though the stress of the whole situation has left me in a worse state than I've been in some years. I did tell her plainly that the part I can't forgive is what she said to my nieces about me that was so degrading and worse, parroted by them. I've not spent a lot of time with them since the event. I can't unhear those words, and frankly they still haunt me, especially when I hear it from a toddler's lips. I have told her that it's going to take a lot for her to earn forgiveness for that from me, which caused another argument about how sensitive I am about my condition, and that I should just own it, and stop whining and hiding, and be a positive example instead. So we are not currently on speaking terms. My mum and other siblings have also been pulled into it, and all apart from her twin sister are more sympathetic to my point of view, or at least to my desire to not flaunt my condition. Even my youngest sister is shocked at her behavior and has vowed to teach the kids better than their mum's example. She babysits them on a semi-regular basis. Her twin is trying to stay neutral and broke a piece, but I'm trying to stand firm. I love my family, but I can't forgive the malice in what she said to my nieces about me. It took my partner and I only about a day to repair and clean after them. We had a few surprises we didn't expect to have to deal with. A few handles on drawers that were damaged, some wet cushions hidden under the bed, etc. But nothing that required painting or extensive repairs. Drawer handles screwed back on, cushions got washed, walls got scrubbed. To answer the DMs I've had since my post, health-wise I'm okay, but not great. I'm probably going to be having a rough time over the next few weeks, but it's going to be fine as soon as I get on top of it again. If I've missed something from the update that you wanted to know about, please drop a question in the comments, and I'll try to answer as swiftly as I can. And now in the comments, good for you. I'm glad you at least have your home back and some peace of mind that you can use the restroom as necessary. As for the rest, hopefully that will sort itself out in time. And OP replies, we will see. I'm worried for her and the kids, but I just can't forgive her for her words. Maybe one day if I'm drunk and in a really good mood, but that's a stretch. Quote, which caused another argument about how sensitive I am and won't stop whining and hiding. That is quite an ironic thing for her to say, considering she literally used you and your condition as a negative example to try to scare her kids into potty training. Refusing to let her degrade you is owning it. I'm glad you had the guts to stand up for yourself, and I'm happy your living situation is, presumably, more peaceful. And OP replies, well, it's a sort of peaceful. Now I get a pretty constant flow of my other siblings and my mum coming and checking in on me. I seem to have at least 3 visitors a day. My poor kettle is getting overworked, but that is definitely a nice problem to have. I'm glad that your sister has a place to stay with her kids for now, and that you were able to get the house cleaned. I'm also glad that she apologized for the bath timing. Her other comments, however, are degrading and baffling, and it sounds like she is just trying to deflect. She wants you to own it, while at the same time using you as a cautionary tale for her children? One, that doesn't even work, since it's a medical condition rather than a behavioral one. That's bratty and unkind. I suspect she's embarrassed and doesn't want to admit it, or maybe the type who believes in tough love. But either way, I get why you are keeping your distance currently. Hopefully she'll cool down and wise up. And OP replies, I'm more of the thought that she's jealous of something in my life, as suggested by a commenter on the original post. I can't think what it would be, but it's my suspicion. As far as I'm concerned, I do own my condition, but I own it in ways that might not make sense if you don't live my life, and I prefer it not to be known by people who know my face, but I've always preferred it that way. I didn't even tell my younger siblings, she's one of 3 that are younger than me, until they were in my mid-teens, because I didn't want them to have to know my shame. I really don't think she understands how emotionally distressing being a young adult who has to cope with needing nappies is. The worst sort of liar is a hypocrite, because they don't even know when they are lying. OP's sister is a hypocrite and has been since day dot. Making out she's just being a good mum by educating her kids, then just being a good sister by forcing you to own it. Her actions have shown her not to be a great mum, nor a great sister. And that's a great little quote, I think. Anyway, guys, that's where I'm going to wrap up the episode for today. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope whatever you're up to today, you have a bloody good time. And, yeah, I'll see you in the next one, I guess. Bye.